Good evening. Tonight on Joy News Prime.
Speaker, some stadia across the country were renovated in 2021 and at various stages of completion as follows. Esipon Stadium, 90% complete.
But what is the current state of the Esipon Stadium? We'll get into this shortly. Also tonight, pressure mounts on government to scrap the proposed e-levy as Economic Fighters League and Fix the Country campaigners serve notice of a massive demonstration on Friday.
Scheduled a massive demonstration for the 26th of November 2021, which will be on Friday. It will be a massive demonstration to the Parliament House to tell the parliamentarians to their faces that we, the citizens of Ghana, on whose authority they sit there and take ex gratia, are instructing them to reject the 2022 budget.
Vice President of the Northeast Regional House of Chiefs and Paramount Chief of Janga accuses police in the West Mampisi municipality of conniving with armed robbers and failing to fight crime.
The prosecutor in Northeast Nalergo came directly to arrest him in my market here. They sent him, they released him.
And coming up in business.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, says government's vision is to make Ghana a tech and innovation hub in West Africa as he charges all tech professionals and players to work together and build a digital economy.
It is through an open, inclusive and participatory process where the voices of all can be heard in crafting Ghana's digital future and unleash the true potential that innovation holds.
And later on Joy News Prime, Akokeji, a village in the coast of the Volta region, now a ghost town following ravaging tidal waves.
I want to come back one day because this is where I belong. My grandparents lived here.
We have details of these stories and more here on Joy News Prime, which is coming to you live from our studios at Tukumlemle here in Accra. We are live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV at 144. This is the home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. I'm Ernest Minu. Stay tuned in. Hello again, thank you very much for joining us. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has come under intense criticism after he stated that the Esipon Stadium renovation was 90% complete during his presentation of the 2022 budget last week. Residents are upset, saying his report is inaccurate. The stadium was built in 2008 as one of the 4 venues for the CAN 2008 competition. Former Sports Minister Isaac Kwabena Esiama disclosed in May 2020 that the stadium will be renovated. Well, after more than a year, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, made the statement on the floor during the budget presentation last week.
Mr. Speaker, some stadia across the country were renovated in 2021 and at various stages of completion as follows. Accra Sports Stadium, 98%, Phase 1 of Baba Yara Stadium, 98%, Esipon Stadium, 90% complete, Cape Coast Stadium, 60%. In 2022, government will continue the construction of the Abreu and the new Edubiasi Sports Stadia, as well as commence the rehabilitation of the Sunyani Coronation Park Stadium.
Is that really the case? Correspondent Natalia Kwanza visited the stadium and our report.
The facility you see behind me is the Sekendi Sports Stadium, located at Esipon here in the Western region. Hence, the other name is Esipon Sports Stadium. It is a 20,000-seater capacity stadium built as part of the host of stadia for the CAN 2008 competition. Over the years, it has gone some structural changes as it keeps on deteriorating. It has been a home to the Sekendi Hazakas Football Club, 11 Wise, The Midiama Sporting Club, at some stages during its previous African campaign and domestic matches, as well as other national team assignments. Residents in Sekondi, Takoradi, the western and central regions still have memories of the night this edifice was completed. The entire stadium was full to the rafters as people far and near graced that night. However, same cannot be said today as the facility keeps deteriorating day in and day out. Though we have not been granted access to enter into the facility, a tour around the facility shows that the facility has not been completed 90% as presented by the Finance Minister to the floor of Parliament last Wednesday during the 2022 budget presentation.
Now, George Addo Jr. of our Sports Desk has been doing some digging.
We recalled that the then Sports Minister, Isaac Isiama, led a team of officials from his ministry in May of 2020, the National Sports Authority and the Western Regional Coordinating Council, to inspect the progress on rehabilitation works at the Sipon Stadium. He told the reporters at a media briefing that the stadium renovation works will be executed in 2 phases. The initial phase will cost about 18 million Ghana cedis and will cover the replacement of existing defective roofing sheets, sandblasting corroded roofing steel, and the application of heavy-duty coating system to guard against further deterioration of the metal structure from the Midwest to the South Stand. Phase 2 of the Sipon project, according to Isaac Isiama in 2020, will cover the renovation of spectator seats and electrical installations, as well as completion of the hotel or hostel facilities and other works. SISDAN, the contractor in charge of this project, are yet to speak. We expect a press statement from the Ministry of Youth and Sports and subsequent communication from the National Sports Authority on the matter. Now, even if the first phase of renovation was just about the roofing sheets, was just about the sandblasting, it doesn't appear from our checks that the first phase of renovation is up to 90%. And that's why the residents are not too excited about this.
Well, on Wednesday when I heard it, I was very, very sad, because if you look at the stadium, I was here last 2 months, and coming here again on Wednesday after the announcement that it was 90% done, I became really frustrated. And my frustration was with the fact that most of the work has not been done. And just as we've been hearing and we've been seeing from pictures and videos, it shows you that a lot of work is still yet to be done. And 90% is just not the valuation for the amount of work that is done. It should be around 20%.
Very frustrated, judging from the background that Minister of Finance will tell you that it is 90% completed, whilst in reality when you come here, the work that needs to be done is not like that. You see, if you come here and you look at the edifice, now they said they are done with the sandblasting and they are doing the painting. And even the painting alone, you could see just one, even if it's not even 1/3, a small portion being done.
My checks from the Sports Ministry and the National Sports Authority, that's really indicate that the Minister of Finance did slip in saying the renovation works at the Sipon Stadium was 90% complete. He was actually supposed to say that the first phase of the renovation work at the Sipon Stadium was 90% complete. Either way, from the evidence of what we have seen, it comes nowhere close, and there's certainly a lot of work to be done to make sure that this edifice that was put up here in 2007, commissioned and used for the Africa Cup of Nations in 2008, really serves its full purpose for the people of Esikado Kenten. George Addo Jr. from the Sipon Stadium.
Now, some sports journalists in the Western region have been speaking about this development. Listen.
For the first time, I had spoken out of myself, said, used words that I would not want to use on any politician, because after listening to the sports the finance minister, Honorable Kenneth Oyata, last time I was at Parliament, I think that he might have misled or misinformed with regards to the progress of work done at the Sekondi Sports Stadium. Some of us had followed ministers. I was with Honorable Isaac Isiama when he came for the first time to begin the process of renovation of the facility. And the last time we went to check on the facility, it looks as if, yes, work is ongoing, but if we should rate it or give it a percentage, I think it's about 15% work done so far. It was quite laughable when the finance minister was, so confident, saying works at the venue so far has been completed within the 90% range. I went there myself to check on the facility, and what I made of the facility is that yes, the roofing, which was the major problem, has been removed, and they've started casting, repairing and then casting, the steel trusses. They've started doing the work, but the truth of the matter is, it is not 90%.
Personally, I chanced upon hearing the finance minister saying the stadium is 90% complete, of which I discounted serious. Because if you look at the pitch status, the greener field, I think the grass is green, yes, but it must be grazed as well. The stands, as in the VIP sessions, is still not complete. For now, I can boldly say it is the roofing that is probably 90% complete, but still there is still work to be done, even on the roofing as well.
So what do you have to say to people out there who during the commission felt like, yes, we have a stadium and that was it?
Yeah, personally, I think it was miscommunicated that the stadium is ready and 90% complete. If you chance upon looking at the pictures, the states now, everybody will be like, wow, how is this 90% complete? Personally, it's not 90% complete. It is only boiled down to that is miscommunication on the part of the financial minister to the indigents and the people of Ghana.
Well, the Member of Parliament for South Tong is the ranking member on the Sports Committee of Parliament, Kwabena Mensah-William. He joins us on the line. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Joy News Prime. First of all, is the committee aware of any renovation, of any works being undertaken on the facility since it was announced by the former minister?
Yes, we are aware. I mean, good evening. Good evening, first and foremost, to your viewers and your good self. Yes, the committee was aware. In fact, it was brought to Parliament in terms of the figures for the job. We even interrogated the amount because that was the aspect that got their allocation overrunning the budget that was actually approved by Parliament. And so we actually interrogated the person. We were actually informed that they were renovating Accra, Kumasi, and Esipong. And so we knew some work had actually started at Esipong.
What was brought before you? What was brought before you, Honorable, just before you proceed on that? What was supposed to be the scope of work for Esipong?
Yes, actually, they were supposed to renovate totally the structural challenges. According to them, some metal parts were rusted, and they needed to replace seats. They needed to do some roofing work and some ceiling. I mean, unfortunately, I don't have the documents in front of me to be able to tell you everything. So it was about just everything, more or less. So we knew some work had started. However, the difficulty had been the statement made by the minister on the floor of Parliament to Ghanaians, when in actual fact it does not reflect the actual situation currently. We had the opportunity to discuss a few of that, and we knew there were difficulties in releases of funds to contractors to continue with the work. We knew about some payment challenges and all that. And so, I don't know, I think the minister wasn't candid with the people of this country and Parliament in particular.
And has the committee had the opportunity to follow up on the works on the ground since it was approved and started?
Yes, actually, we've planned a series of visits to all these facilities, including even the youth resource centers that they're building across the country. And I think some visits, but I don't think we haven't gotten to Esipong. I mean, it was a gradual thing, a gradual process.
Okay. Now it has emerged that the accuracy of that account, rendered by the finance minister may not be, a true reflection of what is on the ground. Is the committee interested in ascertaining the veracity of that claim made by the minister?
Absolutely. We need to reflect the true situation to Ghanaians because they have come to submit to Parliament. And so we'll have to interrogate the content and then bring out what the facts are to the people of this country. And so we'll be doing the estimates, including the reports on some of these key factual misrepresentation. And so we will have to do that for the people. So this is something that is of great interest to us. And so we will do justice to it. I mean, there's a need for us to do justice to it.
Should we expect?
We already have the pictures. Some members have taken the trouble to pass through, taking various pictures. And so we do have pictures. We probably might go to have them printed fully, so that we can appreciate what the content is. So that at least, clearly what the minister said, that it was 90% complete in paragraph 976 of the budget statement. It's really not correct. And so we've actually taken in the trouble to interrogate the figures churned out for the other facilities and look at what's happened, even with the Sunyani Coronation Park, which they indicated they were going to do something about. Now it appears there wasn't what was expected of the government to have taken place. It wasn't done. And so the people are rejecting what the chiefs, the people are rejecting what they propose in the budget. But clearly, there wasn't an understanding reached in that regard. So,
and Honorable, just briefly, before you take leave of us, can we expect an invitation to either ministers, either the finance or the sports minister, to provide details as you interrogate this issue?
Absolutely, because we cannot do this without them. And so we will have to involve them. And that is what the interrogation of the budget entails. We will have to do this with them, and they will have to tell us where they're coming from and exactly what the true picture is. And we'll have to probably pay a visit to the place and then come out the right picture. So that the people can. We can even, by Parliament appointment, engage the services of a QS to look at what it is, so that we come up with what needs to be done. What the public must know. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's the ranking member on the Sports Committee of Parliament, Kobna Mensah Woyomede, speaking to us on this development. Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Esikado Ketan constituency, Joe Gate, had written to the Ministry of Youth and Sports demanding information on the stadium. The letter, dated the 19th of November, reads, the Finance Minister, in the budget statement delivered on Wednesday, 17 November 2021, stated that the rehabilitation works on the Esipon Stadium is 90% completed. My checks reveal otherwise. As a Member of Parliament for the area, I will be grateful if you could furnish me with the update of the said project, which is located in my constituency. Furthermore, if the information given is inaccurate, please furnish the Finance Minister with the accurate information to enable him advise himself accordingly. The project is of great interest to me and my constituents. And this is signed by Joe Gate, the MP for Esikado Ketan. But we're yet to know if the Ministry of Youth and Sports has replied or responded to this letter from the Member of Parliament. Away from that, pressure group Economic Fighters League is set to hit the streets of Accra in protest of the newly proposed taxes in the 2022 budget. The group says the e-levy, amongst others, burden the ordinary Ghanaian. They're calling on parliamentarians to reject the proposals and have asked the government to focus on increasing production in the country. National spokesperson for the EFL, Ni Ayi Opare, addressed the media.
The Vice President said, or had mentioned, that excessive taxes prevent economic growth. And he has said when there's no economic growth, there's no revenue. And when there's no revenue, you'll be forced to increase taxes. And in his very famous words, he says, we get trapped in a cyclical downward spiral, which means you cannot continue to depend on just taxation. You've got to shift the focus from taxation to production. But then we've not seen anything different. In fact, today we see more taxes than we even saw before he came into office. And that's something we have to really look on, or look up to. Number 7, the neoliberal economic structure. The 2022 budget does not address the core issues of the structure of the economy. The over-reliance on the IMF and World Bank policy prescriptions that has led us to nowhere we are in the first place is not going to take us anywhere. And to which, if they've not been able to take us anywhere in the last couple of years, there's no promise or there's no reason to believe that going for policy advice today is going to lead us anywhere. Year in, year out, they read budgets promising heaven and earth without any intention to fulfill them. They are much less concerned about changing the structure of the economy to benefit the masses rather than a few. This is what our fight is about, and we shall not stop. Again, this is what our fight is about, and we shall not stop until the total reconstruction of the country is achieved. Having analyzed the 2022 budget, we have come to the conclusion that the budget presents no hope for the people of Ghana, and rather its proposed policies and measures will exacerbate the plight of the ordinary man and increase the hardship on us. We accordingly reject this budget. We reject the Momo Tax, or whatever it's called, the e-levy tax. We reject the bank transfer tax. We reject the increase in charges. In short, we reject the attempt to pile up hardship on the people and to deny them the right to the pursuit of happiness, freedom, and justice. We have, together with the fellow co-conveners of the Fix the Country campaign, scheduled a massive demonstration for the 26th of November 2021, which will be on Friday. It will be a massive demonstration to the Parliament House to tell the parliamentarians to their faces that we, the citizens of Ghana, on whose authority they sit there and take ex gratia, are instructing them to reject the 2022 budget. We call on all Ghanaians, particularly the youth, to show up for the demonstration, as this affects each and every one of us.
Joining us via Zoom is Abeku Adams, the Solidarity Commander of the Economic Fighters League. Solidarity Commander of the Economic Fighters League. Thank you very much, Mr. Adams, for joining us here on Joineys Prime. You, as part of the Fix the Country campaign, have called for one major thing, which is job creation. A wholesale rejection of the budget will be problematic because in there is that, proposal by government to create 1 million jobs using at least 1 billion cedis each year for the next 3 years. Ms. Adams, you would have to unmute your device so we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. Thank you for having me. Can I have your question again, because your network was breaking at the time we were talking?
Well, the question is that as part of your campaign to fix the country, you asked government to create jobs for the youth, and you said that was a security threat. You are asking now at this news conference you held earlier today for MPs to reject the budget. And I'm saying, wouldn't a total rejection of the budget be problematic, seeing that there are other benefits that will inure to the benefit of young people whom you are concerned with and about?
I do not think rejecting the budget as it stands now would be of any problem to the welfare or the interests of the youth of this country. Rather, accepting it either in part or holistically is going to be the major problem to the job creation they promise. And this is not the first time they promised job creation in this country in national budget, and we have nothing to show for. The most ad hoc policy that was put in place was a NAPCO project, which has now just run its full course and has closed down right now. So clearly, we are not being told specifically what measures are being put in place to create those jobs. We are just being fed figures that will that sort to project a kind of empty hope of job being created subsequently. We are not seeing practical measures on the ground. And in going forward, like at our press conference, we clearly laid down certain specific measures that should be taken in the effort to create jobs. Cut down the taxation tax regime, cut down excessive government expenditure, cut down corruption and other things. These are the measures we should be taking to create jobs, not increasing the budget burden, the tax burden of this country. So yes, rejecting the budget will not create any problem for the youth of this country.
We need to raise revenue to do that. If you are kicking against this, how else does government do what they're asking them to do?
We need to raise revenue as a country, yes, indeed. But tax as the sole means of raising revenue is a lazy man's approach to governance. It's a clear issue of lack of innovation and creative intelligence on the part of government to think that the only way to raise revenue is to tax the people to their graves. And at our press conference, we clearly laid down other measures that should be taken to increase the revenue capacity of this country. And it's not by taxing the people. It's by cutting down on corruption. We said it at the press conference that recently the Auditor General's report says that we lost 12 billion Ghana cedis to corruption last year. The point is that if you can cut down on corruption, you are going to save more than what you are getting.
Very well.
If you are looking forward to raising 6 billion from taxing mobile money, why don't we stop taxing mobile money and put in effective measures to check corruption? That will bring us 12 billion cedis.
Ms. Adams, I would like to leave it here for now. Let's see how this goes. You want to hit the streets on Friday. We'll be following this development. And the minority in Parliament says it will not cooperate with government and will kick against the introduction of the new e-levy that has been announced by government. Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of the post-budget workshop at Hull in the Volta region, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu said government is being opportunistic and only seeking to exploit the COVID-19 pandemic, which contributed to a surge in digital transactions.
The government is seeking to introduce e-levy or e-transaction levy, call it a mobile phone tax or Momo Tax. We stand united collectively against it, and we would not support government. We would not cooperate with government because that will further deepen the suffering of the Ghanaian people. The introduction of that tax handle is simply opportunistic. The number of mobile subscribers and the use of digital platform globally grew up to 68 billion in 2020, and for our purposes the portfolio grew from 257 billion to 500 billion, largely because of COVID. So you don't have a lazy, convenient way of taxing the consequence of COVID. So people decided to use digital platform because of COVID. We needed to do social distancing. Government is turning around to just take advantage of COVID to introduce what they call a Momo Tax. Take for instance, if you chose to pay a medical bill to a doctor by Momo, it means that it will be taxed. There is the danger of you being taxed 7-10 times a day, depending upon how much transfer or remittance you do in a day.
But the Finance Minister, Kenneth Ferrata, says government will find a way to win the cooperation of the minority on the matter. In an interview with Joy News on the sidelines of the ongoing Volta Fair, he said Ghana cannot continue to do things the same way.
So this historic 10 billion intervention that we have had and finding ways for burden sharing. So we recognize the problems of youth unemployment, the problem of growth, the problem of debt, and we as a nation decide to burden share to break this intractable problem. So it's very exciting seeing the support that he has garnered and seeing some of the entrepreneurs here who are here. And it gives me hope that where we are going with the e-levy is the right way to do that.
It's interesting that you mentioned the e-levy. There are already concerns out there that
there
the
e-levy
amounts to double taxation and inimical to entrepreneurship that
well,
we
if you look at your 2.2 million youth in 1960 to 10.8 million youth, It cannot be that we do things as we do them always. And I think we all need to stretch our minds as to what we want to curtail. The indignity of not having a job, I think, should really manage how the world economy is moving into more of an E-line economy. The old tax handles might not be different. And as you bring these things on, you tweak them with time. But the clarity of understanding that we cannot continue to have this youth problem, we cannot continue to not have our roads built, we cannot continue to not look at our debt.
Uprooted 3 times already and now stuck between a marauding sea and a lagoon. That's the story of villagers of Akokeji. The community is one of the worst affected areas in the tidal wave disaster that displaced more than 3,000 people in the Keta area 2 weeks ago. The community of over 500 people is now a ghost town, as many have fled to perch with friends and family elsewhere. My colleague Justice Bedu went to meet some of the last residents of Akokeji, forced by the sea erosion to say goodbye to the land of their birth.
This is Yawo Agbemava's last day in the home she has lived for 45 years. In her lifetime, she has seen sea waves sweep through her village many times. But what she saw 2 weeks ago was different.
When I hear the sea waves, my heart beats faster. I become very afraid. I've not seen anything like this before. The sea used to be far away. Now it's with us.
Like Yao, nearly everyone from Agokeji, her village, has left. What remains? Broken water pots, torn apart roofing sheets, and belongings that villagers left behind as they ran for their lives when the sea waves forced their doors open in the dead of the night.
If the sea is rougher, we just wake up and stay and sit down and be waiting for the day to come. Because if you sleep, you don't know that the water will come to the room.
With the climate change, you can see it's really affecting our community.
This is Fuvame. Some of the people who are just moving away from Agokeji now used to live here. After years of sea erosion, everyone has left.
It was a big community, very big community. The people keep on moving backwards. Keep on moving backwards till the time they get close to the river. And there's no place for them to move, to step back anymore. So final decision was they have to move from this community to resettle at Agokeji.
Yao hopes she can come back to Agokeji one day.
I want to come back one day because this is where I belong. My grandparents lived here.
A sea defense project that could help protect her community has stalled for years. Sea levels are rising by the day. It is uncertain where the next move will be to. Justice Bedu, Joy News, Akokeji.
And here in the studio, my name is Ernest Miniwo, Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. When we return, we'll bring you more in business and sports.
And you're welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has increased its policy rate, the rate at which it lends to commercial banks, by 100 basis points to 14.5%, citing risks to inflation, the exchange rate, as well as fiscal and debt sustainability challenges. It's the first time since 2015 that the MPC has increased its key lending rate. This is expected to trigger an increase in the cost of borrowing, but may help stem the recent pressure on the cedi and the price of goods and services. We shall take a look at how this will impact, businesses in our subsequent bulletins. But away from that, Economist and Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, is warning that government's plan to slap some taxes on electronic transactions could have a negative effect on remittance flow. According to him, even though such transactions, especially mobile money, has grown over the past years, any revenue mobilization agenda targeted at the sector without thorough cost-benefit analysis could erode the gains made so far. He spoke at the 11th Continuing Professional Development and Induction Ceremony of the Association of Certified Chartered Economists organized here in Accra.
It depends on how the users of electronic platforms are classified. If they are classified as having inelastic consumption or use of these apps, then their withdrawal will be very limited, and government will end up getting the expected revenue that it wants to get. And I believe that's the reason why government has imposed this particular levy, because we have become so used to this transaction. Therefore, we are not going to start using the transaction. What will happen in reality is that people will respond within a short period of time, and they'll become used to it and continue to use the system. But there is some pressure going to be on those who are very sensitive to remittances, to these tasks. They may limit how much they send to their loved ones. They can stagger it. So those developments will come on. But the full effect will come to bear when the task becomes operational. But it is something that we are tasking the members who have been inducted to date, that there is now available data. The population and housing census data have been released. It has something to do with remittances, both internal remittances and external remittances. And we need to start simulating to see what effect that it will have for the purposes of taxation.
And away from that, the Vice President, Dr. Momo Tax, says his government's vision is to make Ghana a technology and innovation hub in West Africa. He points out that the country is working towards developing a tech and innovation park and has been talking to partners across the globe in this regard. Speaking at the Made in Ghana Digital Innovation Week, an initiative by his office, the Vice President, Dr. Tax, charged all professionals and tech players to work together and build a vibrant digital economy.
It is through an open, inclusive, and participatory process where the voices of all can be heard in crafting Ghana's digital future and unleash the true potential that innovation holds. As I outlined in my lecture at Ashesi University a few weeks ago, government is committed to transforming Ghana through digitalization. A vibrant modern Ghana can only be built if strong institutions and systems are in place. Without these, this nation will be stuck in a vicious cycle of rhetoric and underdevelopment. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that the COVID-19 pandemic presented many challenges. Empirical evidence indicates that it slowed down economic growth and stalled development of many economies, including Ghana. But it also taught us many lessons. One major lesson is that to rebuild our post-pandemic economy, there is an urgent need of investing in innovative technology to leapfrog the obstacles to inclusive development. There is perhaps no more important development revolution facing us now than the fast approaching digitization and leveraging of technology to develop our country. The opportunities to leverage technology for accelerated and inclusive development had never been so tangible. This is the time to take a critical look at our innovations and the digital transformation journey and feed our reflections and ambitions into a shared vision. Ladies and gentlemen, let me emphasize that to achieve this inclusive and accelerated development, all stakeholders must work together in order to grow Ghana and African countries' innovation and ecosystems. Tapping into the experience, expertise, and networks of all countries, particularly our Pan-African brothers and sisters, will not only offer us a wealth of lessons and insights, but will also help us build effective collaborative innovation ecosystems. Indeed, this Ghana Digital Innovation Week is the outcome of the trilateral cooperation between Ghana, Germany, and Israel on innovation and development. Hand in hand with our partners, we shall continue to nurture our local innovation ecosystems and establish connections with the ecosystems abroad. Innovation sees no boundaries, but for us to explore its full potential, we must join hands within our local ecosystems and also across innovation ecosystems in Africa and elsewhere to strengthen our foundations and accelerate innovations.
Well, that'll be it for business. We have sports coming up. Do stay.
Many thanks for joining me for sports. I'm Hans Mensah, and Asante Kotoko has signed a one-year sponsorship deal with National Lottery Authority. The partnership, which is subject to renewal at the end of the current football season, is worth 1 million Ghana cedis. Love FM's Stephen Zando was at the signing ceremony and comes through with his report.
The National Lottery Authority, NLA, have signed a bumper partnership deal with Ghana Premier League giants Kumasi Asante Kotoko. The one-year sponsorship deal, which is worth 1 million Ghana cedis, was officially announced on Monday, November 22 in Kumasi. The partnership agreement is expected to run for the entire duration of the 2021-2022 Ghana football season, but subject to renewal. In the coming days, the NLA will announce a similar deal with giants Accra Suffolk. Speaking at the launch, Director General of the National Lottery Authority, Samia Uku, disclosed a number of Ghana Premier League clubs approached the NLA with their respective proposals, but the authority is convinced Kotoko and Hasselhoff were willing to go through the process with them.
This is the first time the NLA is going into brand visibility in a major sponsorship deal involving clubs within the football bracket. So Kotoko approached us with their proposal. Hasselhoff also approached us with their proposal, and RTU also approached us with their proposal. Along the line, RTU felt that we were delaying, and they had already gone into printing their jersey for and the brand stuff for the 2021-2022. But Kotoko and Haas were very patient, and they were willing to also go with us through the process. We needed to align on the figures. We needed to know what we were getting involved with, and we also wanted to be sure that this was a deal worth going into.
On his part, Chief Executive Officer of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Nanaya Omponsan, said this strategic partnership will benefit both Kotoko and their NLA because the Porcupine Warriors boast of the biggest fan base in the country. Communication and Brands Manager of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, David Obinyaku, explained that there is the need for fans of Kotoko to patronize the initiative from the NLA in order to make sure that the state agency benefit from the partnership as well.
We have to push the other brands that are partnered with Asante Kotoko. So there will be better explanation and details coming out very soon. All we want to say is that we admonish our supporters to patronize this particular product. That's the Athena product, whereby we are going to use the jersey numbers of our players to predict the lucky numbers, and the lucky fans are going to win so many wonderful prizes. So it's a package that we have to patronize fully.
The event was graced by some legends of Asante Kotoko Club, including former Black Stars head coach Kwesi Appiah, Daniel Asare, George Kennedy, former CEO of the club Samuel Opokunti, Abdul Razak, and Papa Akon. From Kumasi for Joy News, Steve Zando reporting.
And the 18-year-old football sensation Felix Afenajan, we understand, would not be able to commit to the senior national team, the Black Stars, according to his agent Marcel Veyman. And the player scored twice yesterday after coming on as a substitute. against Genoa, and he was promised before the game shoes by Jose Mourinho, and as you can see on your screens, Mourinho has fulfilled that promise. Balenciaga sneakers worth 800 euros. I'm sure you're doing the conversion by now. That's in excess of 5,000 Ghana cedis on his feet. Lovely gesture there from the special one. That's it for sport. And that'll be all for the news for viewers on Joy Prime. You can read more sport at myjoyonline.com/sport. I'm Hans Mensando. Many thanks for your time.
Now, singer Abiana has revealed that she used 5 years to prepare her debut album. Abiana released her debut album titled Alimle Lala, meaning Songs of November, which contains 12 tracks. Now, speaking on Daybreak Hits on Hit FM with KMJ, Abiana says she was using that period to find herself.
5 years to prepare this album.
5 years?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. I was just finding myself.
What was happening? What was going through your mind at that time?
That time I was with my high school band. I was playing my
you played the high school band.
So I did background vocalist for like 6 years throughout. So through that time I was writing, and then till I met the label and stuff. So it was all through that.
Now, veteran actress Joke Silva has publicly spoken about the health status of her husband Olu Jacobs. You recall that there were rumors about the veteran actor's health and that he was ill after pictures of him went viral on social media. Well, the actress in an interview has revealed that Olu Jacobs has dementia with Lewy bodies, that's DLB. According to her, quote, "This has been going on for a couple of years." And that's it for Showbiz. Let's do some more stories here on Joy News Prime. And the coalition of civil society organizations for local government reforms in Ghana is calling on the Akufo-Addo government to abandon the idea of superintending the election of metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives on partisan lines. The group, which has renewed the push for the election of MMDCs, argue that the current administrative structure at the local assembly is fraught with significant challenges, which is impacting negatively on the developmental growth at the local level, insisting the election of the CEOs for the assembly would largely address the challenges. President Akufo-Addo in 2019 truncated the processes for the election of local authorities, citing a lack of consensus. But a member of the CSO's coalition, Kofi Bentel, addressing the media, observed that government must first prioritize the election of MMDCs before introducing the election on partisan lines.
All right, so let us get this clear. There is overwhelming support for this. At the point where we were going to effect those things, the current government introduced a second phase. That phase is not necessary for the local government reforms. It is additional. And that second phase is to have it done on a partisan basis. So let me explain. We can today ask our parliamentarians to amend the constitution, and we will elect DCs from tomorrow. That is what the overwhelming number of Ghanaians want. Both NDC and MPP want. We have not heard any dissent to that, and that can be done. At a point where we're going to do it, at tertiary level, a different phase, another, ultimate goal was added to it, which is to say, let's do it on a partisan basis. Why I'm stressing this point is this: it is not necessary to have partisan elections for us to have local government elections. So it is not exactly accurate to say there was a breakdown in consensus. The breakdown was that it was not necessary. Let us not complicate it. Now, sometimes we elevate a footnote and make it the keynote. That small footnote of whether to make it partisan or not, became the keynote. And on that basis, the whole thing was scuttled. We are back here today to emphasize the substantive point, which we all agree on. And that is that we must have local government reforms to the effect of electing local government officials, DCs, MCs, and the like. And that much as we will desire, or some of us will desire, that it be done on a partisan basis, we think that we should first have the elections done, have people into office chosen by the people, and then later on, if we want to, we can add the icing on the cake, which is to make it partisan or not.
The coalition has today begun a nationwide stakeholders engagement to rally support for the election as part of moves to power pressure on President Akufo-Addo to reinitiate processes for the election. Dr. Kojo Asante of the CDD has been speaking to my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
There are many issues, and the verdict on local government is really bad. It's not functional. So whatever we are going to do, there has to be complementary reforms. And I think that will probably help us better in deciding that we want non-partisan or partisan. I mean, as some of my colleagues have said, just the election alone is sufficient to make a change, at least even with this appointment process. We will get people that the citizens will feel that they put them there. And they know that they can always, in 4 years' time, they have to go and seek their mandate. So already it established an accountability relationship, like with MPs. And we know that that works. But it is not necessarily a guarantee that you are going to have local development or local democracy. So that's why we are saying, yes, election is important, but it's not sufficient. And let's see how we can add to it.
In all of this, the president is very central and very key in this matter. Have you officially petitioned him? Have you spoken to him about the new process?
No, I think the process as we understand it is that if the consensus is going to build, it's not just political actors having a consensus. So it's not even just MPP and DC having a consensus. It's what even chiefs, what they think, what is their role, how are they going to, because if they feel threatened that this process is going to marginalize them or exclude them from local development, then they might not even support it. What about local assembly members? What about the political parties at local government level? So this is the kind of work that we government would have done. But we see that, okay, there are some divergent views, at least on the party side. If civil society can come together and take up this responsibility and bring these actors and parties together, when we have the collective voice and we present it to government, it should persuade and be persuasive for us to move forward. So that is the job that we want to be doing from the next 3 weeks, and we'll go into the next year as well. And we are working with the ministry, to also let them know what citizens are thinking, what different groups are thinking, so that if they have to submit a memo to Parliament, to Cabinet, for a roadmap, that at least they will be informed by what is on the ground.
The owners of an apartment serving as the Ashanti Regional Office of the New Patriotic Party at Skrofom in Kumasi are up against the party leaders for failing to address rent issues. The landlady, together with her children and other relatives on Monday, stormed the regional office and disrupted an ongoing press conference on the same issue. Regional Communications Director Kwesi Chey says lawyers of both parties will soon address the rent impasse. Prince Apia has more.
Last Friday, the aggrieved family disrupted a TESCON meeting at the party office, claiming the NPP defaulted payment of 3 years' rent. The TESCON members left the office following the bizarre scene created by the family. The family returned on Monday when some NPP members were addressing the press on the same issue. Some aggrieved family members spoke to the media.
Chama wuti mi akwatra radio she say ya be pa na chew. Say o maye maami baby ntina. Na da no eni wa ye nua da ne na e de dan na ma na da ne se ne dia.
Chairman Wontumi said on radio that we begged him to give our mother a place to stay. This facility belongs to us. We do not have any idea about the terms of agreement. Here is the will. Read it. We were already told that monies had been paid to a relative of ours. If someone breaches an agreement, we have every right to take back our building. This premises is unkempt. The building is not properly maintained. We are taking back our building.
Simple as that.
Meanwhile, NPP Regional Director of Communications, Kwesi Che, says lawyers of both parties will meet to address the issues amicably.
Oh, is idea no lawyer now wujina woman name and lawyer wujina yensu ya name.
The lawyers who stood in both parties' defense will surely come out with their statement.
Statement. Na etimia kati bibi short. I think that is how it's going to be. In here say omubekasa wa bontene.
Prince Apia reporting.
We stay in the region because Ashanti region has already secured a spot in the grand finale of this year's National Science and Maths Quiz, even ahead of the semi-final contest. After hoisting the Ashanti flag through the quarterfinals, 3 schools from the region will compete for a spot in the semis. This, according to many, keeps alive the goal of hosting and winning the competition. Nana Ojima has spent the week on the KNUST campus following the National Science and Maths Quiz and filed this report.
Host and win has been on the lips of schools from the Ashanti region since the commencement of the competition, which they host for the first time. Ashanti had the highest representation in the quarterfinals with 7 schools. 3 could walk into the semi-finals. KNUST SHS, Prempeh College and Opokuwari School all made it to the semi-final stage on the last day of the quarter-final contest and are expected to face each other at this stage.
KNUST Senior High School, congratulations on winning the contest.
Owners of the turf they call themselves, KNUST SHS, made the semis after a hard-won victory against Accra Academy and Ola Girls Senior High School, where the last riddle decided the winner of the contest. It is the second time the University Senior High School are semi-finalists. The contestants are seeking to make history by cruising the school to their first final.
As our motto says, forward be our watchword, will always remain our motto as the Majumba Society.
Now, no school is small to be taken as the underdog. Accra Academy is a big school, all right. Everybody knew that Accra Academy would win, but by the grace of God, we won. So I'm hopeful that by the end of the semi-finals, we will emerge winners.
Today is an example of any school, of what we do to any school who tries to cross us. We are looking forward to the semis, and we hope that by the grace of the Almighty God, we were able to progress to the final.
Away from the Ashanti region, Vice President of the Northeast Regional House of Chiefs and Paramount Chief of Janga, Naseidu Naktogman, has accused police in the West Mamprisi municipality of conniving with armed robbers and failing to fight crime. The chief alleged that criminals engaged in robbery and kidnapping were collaborating with some security officers who always intervene and ensure they evade prosecution whenever they are arrested. The chief is therefore calling on the Inspector General of Police to advise his officers, else they will cut ties with them and any suspect arrested thereafter shall be executed without involvement of the police. He spoke to correspondent Ilyasu Tanko.
Activities of highway robbers and residential thieves have been a long-standing security challenge in the West Mamprisi municipality of the Northeast region. The high crime rate in the municipality has led to many residents concerned about their safety and livelihoods. Until recently, The presence of a special anti-robbery personnel as part of a national response to the situation has significantly reduced criminal activities in the area. However, due to lack of logistics and inadequate personnel, the robbers are said to be back in full force, especially in communities where the police are unable to conduct patrols due to bad roads and the lack of vehicles. Residents in these communities are therefore left with no option than to form militias and vigilantes and rely on traditional authorities for protection. The police therefore rely on these traditional authorities to be able to administer control in fighting crime in these communities.
And that's it for the bulletin. Many thanks for your company. Please log on to myjoyonline.com. You find more stories there. I am Alex Menu.